Hey, you third grade writers, how are you today? I hope you're doing well and that you're enjoying and coming kind of to the end of your realistic fiction story. I know I've been working hard on mine. You can see I've got lots of revising and editing going on. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Today, we're going to talk about endings of our story because you should be getting pretty close, right? You've got your introduction, your first paragraph. You've got that part of that story mountain, right? That plot mountain where everything is happening in your story. It gets more exciting and then things start to get fixed and we've solved the problem. Now you're ready kind of for the ending. So let's talk about what you're going to be able to choose from this time. Now, you look at this slide here, and it says that endings of stories are just as important as the lead, right? That's the beginning part. So the ending is going to let your reader know when the story's done, right? It should satisfy that reader and kind of wrap everything up like a nice present. We've talked about that before. It also might allow them to kind of linger on the ending, so they kind of think about it and think about maybe the consequences for the characters in the story. And sometimes, as a writer, you write an ending that's going to teach a lesson. You might have the character learn something, or maybe you solve a problem or achieve a goal. So, today, you're going to get to choose from 3 different types of endings. And this is going to be your last paragraph, that bottom triangle of your power organizer. I'm going to show you kind of one sentence to get started. A paragraph is not one sentence, right? You know that as a third grader, almost fourth grader. You have less than a month of school left. So show what you know, right? Everything you've learned from kindergarten, first, second, and now almost all of third grade. Show what you know, right? A paragraph is not one sentence, but this is going to be kind of like a prompt or a way to start that last paragraph. There are going to be 3 types of endings that you're going to get to choose from, and you're going to stretch it out. All right. So I'm going to show you what those endings are, what you're going to get to choose from, and kind of how it will look. I'll kind of model, like I said, one particular sentence. So you might use a lesson at the end. You might use a laugh if it's appropriate for your story. You might use some feelings. Okay, and let me explain those in a little bit more detail. So the lesson, that's that light bulb moment, right? If you read along on the screen with me, it says that you can end your story with a lesson that your character learned. Because remember, this is a realistic fiction. This is not a personal narrative of a story that has something that's happened to you. It's a story that's made up, but could very well happen in real life, right? So if our character is going to learn something in the end, we might start that bottom triangle, that last paragraph, by saying something like, next time, Joey decided he would listen to his parents so he doesn't get lost in the woods again, right? You can kind of hear, oh yeah, there's a lesson there. You might, right, have a little bit of a laugh. If your story lends to it and we can kind of make fun of something, it says leave the reader with a little laugh if appropriate to your story. So something like this, thinking about being lost again in the woods. If you want to take the scenic route, try getting lost in the woods like I did, right? Kind of poking fun, kind of taking maybe a more serious event that happened and kind of turning it into something funny, right? To lighten it up a little bit. You also might show feelings at the end, some kind of a strong feeling that's connected to your story. Remember, it's your realistic fiction story. It's not just some random feeling that you're going to throw in at the end. It has to make sense with your story. So maybe your character says something like this: I can still feel a chill tingling down my spine when I think about getting lost in the woods, right? And in the video that you watched prior to this that showed you about endings, if you haven't watched that, you should go back and do that because that was your first assignment in this lesson today. But that girl said she was relieved, right? So that's sharing her feelings. She was relieved. And they combined it, right, with a little bit of a lesson as well, that they needed to do something different in the wintertime so her dog didn't get lost. So maybe you can take 2 of these endings and combine them. You don't have to do that, but maybe it works for your story. You probably would never combine all 3, right? That might be a little bit confusing. So pick one, maybe pick a different one and try that one and see how you like that ending. Maybe try to pick a couple of them and combine them, all right? Tomorrow, like I said, we're going to talk about revising and editing in our realistic fiction stories. And then the following day, you're going to get the green light to start writing your final copy that's going to be due next Friday, which is May 21st. Okay, we're almost at the end of the month. So if you are not keeping up with your writing assignments, and sadly I know not everybody is, boy, you better put some pedal to the metal and get busy. All right, we're excited to read these stories, and you are almost at the end of third grade, so you should be able to use everything that you have learned all throughout elementary school to write the best realistic fiction story you can.